in many cases there are not many people who haven't said that they've discriminated against someone, and in many cases there are people who are discriminated against, and this includes deaf people. Deaf discrimination is saying that someone is inferior to what they can't hear, and many people who can't hear, they can't talk because of they when they but they can't hear what they're saying, and usually it comes out incorrect. And many people have tried to help them, including authors, writers, and other people around the community that are concerned about them. And they want to help with the job opportunities and the job employment with the deaf community, and they want to help with the deaf friendly cities. Deaf friendly cities are a part of life. They want to help people become sensitive to the fact that deaf people aren't necessarily the priority of the community, but they can still help the community. And these two issues have become the main focus in deaf communities and with deaf people. And according to the article Census Geographies, geographers have turned to Rodway's view that sound plays a key role in anticipation, encounter, and memories of places. Memories of places you can not only can see, but you can hear and you can remember what you heard and remember the place. And it helps you remember the place. And when someone is deaf, they don't necessarily take it as a loss of sense, but as an added constellation, which is sign language, according to Matthew and Foley Cave. They call it deaf proud. And when someone loses its hearing, they learn sign language to communicate with people. And deaf proud means that they take advantage of what they have, and not necessarily take it for granted. And they don't use it as an excuse so they don't have to do anything. And according to Tom Humphreys, autism is saying that someone is superior based on one's ability to hear or behave in the manner of one who hears. And this means that autism is saying that someone is superior, and they don't don't they don't take they don't take it for granted, and deaf people don't take much things for granted, including their sight, because they can't hear, and using their sight to see helps them have confidence. Emory and also Emory identified that urban disenfranchisement is the ways in which deaf citizens are excluded from citizenship due to the citizenship being phenocentric. And deaf people or deaf citizens, they are excluded from many activities because they can't hear, and people think that they're disabled and they can't do anything for themselves. Most deaf people use their sight and sign language to communicate with people so they can have more of a normal life. This includes people, deaf people without jobs and people with jobs. And men make only 74% of the mean wage, while women make only 87% of the mean wage of a non disabled person, according to Americans with Disabilities. And men and women of the deaf community have dropped enormously over time of the mean wage and the employment rate. Also, people say that being deaf is referred to as an unwillingness to listen. This is not necessarily true for all deaf people, but some deaf people may, but most deaf people take advantage of what they can do and not what they and focus don't focus on what they can't do. And according to Stevens in 2006, many ancient cultures view people with hearing disabilities that are inferior because they were unable to engage in intellectual debate. And this is true today throughout cities and communities. Also, after a lawsuit was settled through a Phoenix company and a a deaf woman, that they had a disagreement about who should pay for an interpreter for a job, who trained them before they could start the job. And after this lawsuit was settled, the company had to train its employees, no matter the employee or the disability, no matter they're blind or deaf. This came from the Americans Disabilities Act, according to an Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's release. After all of this said, people with jobs or people without jobs and people who not necessarily take anything for granted shouldn't discriminate against deaf people or blind people or any people or a group of people. They should always remain nice to people, and they shouldn't discriminate whether they have disabilities or not. After all of this said, people throughout the community of the deaf community and people that support the deaf and how they're treated, they they want they want to improve the deaf friendly cities, and they want to improve job rates, which comes with job employment and the wages of the deaf people. Thank you.